Sex is the life force energy that runs through us all. Can you use sexual energy for your spiritual evolution? Or perhaps for emotional healing? Is it even possible? Clinical sexologist Dr. Martha Tara Lee will explore all these and more on Eros Evolution on Om Times Radio.
Hello, welcome to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. My name is Martha, and I am the host of this show. I am a clinical sexologist, and my practice in Singapore is called Eros Coaching. You can find me on eroscoaching.com. Today, our title is Let Nature Inspire the Arts of Love, and we have Lindsay Hagamen, and she will be sharing with us the ways we can look to nature to enhance our relationship with our own sexuality and in the process grow a more sustainable relationship with the planet. She is a lover of the earth and is inspired by the ways that our most beloved ecosystems can help us reclaim the power and pleasure of our sexuality. Lindsay will be exploring with us how Lover Earth can seduce us back into our bodies and help us create an erotic life that is more free, more abundant, and more sustainable. So let's talk a little bit about Lindsay. She has dedicated her life to creating a culture where we can live freely and love fully as we tend to and care for our only home, this earth. She's the president of Windward, an intentional community 30 years in the making, dedicated to developing the knowledge and skills needed to live well with one another and the earth. She's the co-editor of the upcoming collection, Ecosexuality, where nature inspires the arts of love, and is the co-creator of the annual Eco-Sex Convergence. She gives workshops and presentations on ecosexuality, community, and land-based living. She studied ecological sciences at Brown University, and her interest is, as you probably can guess from what I've read so far, in building sustainable community. And it has led her to explore what lies in the heart of human connection, sexuality. So with that, let's welcome Lindsay.
Well, thank you, Martha. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on this show.
Oh, of course. Thank you for inviting me.
So tell us a little bit more about all the things that I just mentioned, about the importance of nature, just to lead us into the show, and more about what you believe in, your philosophy of life.
Sure. So I just want to preempt here that I am losing you on some of the questions. That our connection is cutting out, so I hope we'll still be able to maintain connection here. What I heard was a little bit about my philosophy on life. So I guess I'll answer that question. So I identify as an ecosexual, and I live closely with the land with a small group of people here in Washington State in the Pacific Northwest. And so in many ways, I embrace the earth as a partner. And so I, in many ways, want to cultivate a relationship with the earth where erotic energy can flow freely through me and through the people that I share a relationship with, and then we can use that energy, the erotic energy that we cultivate together, to then give back to the earth and to garden the land and to steward the land, to tend to the forests and the streams that nourish us and that support us.
That sounds really wonderful. That's really great. Hello? Oh no. Yeah, I was just saying that's really great. We can just type to each other as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about how nature inspires and enhances our erotic lives?
Sure, I'd love to. Where I'd like to start, I think, is in recognizing that erotic energy is flowing all around us. Eros, at least how I like to think about it, is the desire to create. It's the motivating energy for all life. And it moves through us and it moves through all life on Earth. And so when we can tap into this flow of energy and let this energy move freely through us, we, at least I know I, begin to feel much more vibrant and much more alive and much more sexy, more potent, more powerful. And so tapping into this erotic energy that moves through all of life, I think, and is a really empowering step for us to take. One way that, something that I've certainly observed in my experiences in nature is that nature is really shameless about sex. And plants flaunt their genitals all the time. Sex is happening all around us. It's spring over here in the Pacific Northwest, and the plants are being pollinated by the bees, and the trees are all, the pollen is floating around, being pollinated by the winds. And so sex is really everywhere. Sex is celebrated, and a diversity of sexual expressions is celebrated and is accepted. And so if we can learn to accept and celebrate our own sexuality, our own bodies, the erotic energy that moves through us, then I really believe that we'll be in a better position to be able to ask for what we want in our erotic lives and our sexual lives, and also be in a better position to be able to receive that which we're asking for. In many ways, our modern culture shames sexuality, and a lot of people feel guilt and shame around their bodies, around their body type, around their desire. And so if we're able to model how we feel and how we celebrate sexuality in the ways that off of nature, and to be inspired by how shameless nature is about sexual energy, and it's just all out there all the time, I think that we'll be able to feel a lot more pleasure and abundance in our lives.
Mm. So now I really begin to understand what you mean by nature inspiring and enhancing our erotic lives. I can hear this lusciousness in your voice. You know, it's very much like, even as you speak, it's like your voice is making love with the audience. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Could you hear me? No.
I could not hear you. Did you ask how it can enhance our emotional lives?
Yeah. So.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
So I think that humans really crave connection. Really all animals do, and humans are a kind of animal. And I think we really crave connection. And yet we live in an age of isolation. And so how do we break out of this isolation and really lead more abundant emotional lives? And now when I talk about connection, a lot of people think about connection with other people. And that is incredibly important, and definitely one of the ways that we humans are designed to connect. But that's really just one type of connection, one type of intimacy. And so I think that we really crave connection with the earth. It's that which we rose out of, that which we emerged from, and also that which we will return to. And so I think that we really need to find the time in our lives to connect with the earth. We also really crave connection with ourselves, connection with our own creativity and our emotional flow. And that's also something that we don't have a lot of time for in our daily lives. And that also, we crave connection with spirit, to have connection with a meaning and purpose in our lives, to be part of something greater, something eternal. And so when we are able to fulfill these needs for connection with the earth and connection with ourselves, and even connection with spirit, we are able to tap into a really deep well that can feed us and fulfill us. And then we have more to draw from when it comes to our partnerships or our relationships. We have more to give. Another way that I think that nature can really help us lead more emotionally abundant lives is because nature really impacts our metabolism and how we respond to stress, how well we think. Our environment influences this. And so when we live in intact, healthy, thriving, vibrant ecosystems, we are able to relax more. And we move out of that fight or flight circuit and are able to move into more of a calm and connected circuit. And oxytocin flows, and we're calmer. We're more able to love, and we're more able to be kind to those around us. And we're more able to respond with loving kindness to the world around us. And I think that all arises out of the recognition that we're biophilic creatures. We are inherently drawn to life. Biophilia means being drawn to life. And so we're happier when we're in nature, and this permeates the rest of our lives. So those are some of the aspects of how I think that nature can really help us lead more emotionally abundant lives.
Beautiful. I really love what you're sharing. Can you hear me? Oh no. Yeah. So we're going to have a short break coming up, and I'm going to try to fix it by changing laptops. So just pardon the technical glitch today. I'm not sure whether you guys can hear me, but Lindsay is messaging me and saying that she can't hear me at all. So after this break, hopefully we have less tech issues.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on Om Times Radio.
Welcome to The Gathering Around My Kitchen Table on Equilarium FM, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join my guests as we integrate spirituality into everyday reality with vibrant conversations, inspired interviews, and my latest channeled guidance to inspire and brighten your day. I'm Claire Johnson, and together we'll be raising vibrations across the nations.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on Om Times Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. Today we'll be exploring the link between our sexuality and spirituality and with nature. I have with me Lindsay Hagamen, and she has been sharing how nature can actually inspire and enhance our erotic lives. If you've been listening to her, you know that she brings this lusciousness to her voice, and it's quite beautiful. So, welcome back to the show, Lindsay. Can you tell us what we can learn from nature when it comes to our sexuality and our relationships?
Sure, I certainly would love to. One of the things that's really apparent when you live closely with nature and observe nature is that nature thrives on diversity, and it thrives on symbiosis or symbiotic partnerships. Symbiosis means basically both entities are working together and are mutually benefiting each other. And I'll give an example. I'm a gardener, and so when I plant in the garden, I like to do what I call companion planting. And so companion planting is a technique where we plant multiple kinds of plants in the same space. And we do this because some plants, they benefit each other, and some plants draw on certain nutrients while other plants create the nutrients that those other plants need. An example is tomatoes and carrots. Tomatoes and carrots really like being planted together. And this is in significant contrast to how most industrial agriculture is done, where there's just a vast acres upon acres of corn, for example, or soybeans. And so I think it's a good metaphor for thinking about our relationships. And so when it's like we're trying to find a companion, we're trying to find good plants to be companions with. And so how are we compatible? How compatible are we? How compatible are our love languages or our skill sets? How do we complement each other? So I think that thinking about how we go about our relationships in the way that we think about how we plant a garden, for example, is a helpful metaphor. For example, how can we help each other grow better? And so in many ways, nature can inspire us towards interdependent partnerships where we're giving and we're taking, we're receiving and giving in an interdependent relationship. Another way that I think that we can learn from nature when it comes to our sexuality and relationships is in the area of spontaneity. That nature really seizes the day, and there is certainly a regularity and a patterning to the cycles and seasons of nature. For example, the sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening. And summer follows spring. But at the same time, there's really...
Hello? Hello?
Can inspire us. Hi.
Oh, yeah, you got cut off. Scare me. Yeah, so please continue.
Okay. I was talking about spontaneity and how, in many ways, in our intimate partnerships, sometimes we can get stuck in a rut, or we can get stuck in a pattern. And just like nature, I think our relationships thrive on the diversity and the spontaneity that diversity can create for us. And there's a saying in farming around, make hay while the sun shines. So it's really important to be able to treasure our moments with our beloveds.
Thank you so much for what you're sharing. So, what do you see are also other connections that we can have between sexuality and ecology? Is it what you've been mentioning? Compatibility and spontaneity.
Sure. Well, similar to what I've been saying, that there's the connections between diversity and interdependence. Another connection between sexuality and ecology is that they both involve energetic flow. That sexuality certainly is the flow of energy within oneself and between oneself and a partner. And ecology is also a flow of energy. Ecology is the study of ecosystems, a study of life and how the plants and the animals all interact in an ecosystem together. And so in many ways that's very similar. That's a study of the flow of energy and how energy moves through an ecosystem. So I think that one of the ways that I would enjoy talking about now is how actually the sexuality and ecology are connected in the context of our current, many of the challenges that we're facing today. And that many of us live in the predominant culture, which is a consumer-based culture, where we mostly buy the things that we need. And we're inundated with all sorts of advertisements about what it is that we should buy and why it is that we should buy it. And at the same time, where the sexuality is being used to sell us those things. There's an image of a beautiful woman biting into a piece of fruit, and that encourages us to buy that fruit or to buy the car, whatever it is that is being sold. And so our sexuality is in many ways being taken away from us through this shame and the guilt. We're being told to subdue it. And, but then it's being sold back to us, and we're being encouraged through sexuality to buy these consumer items. And in many ways, it's these consumer items that, in this consumer-based economy, that is creating so many of the environmental challenges that we're experiencing, because it's the production of all of these goods, all these materials, that is consuming so much energy. It's consuming lots of fossil fuel energy, and that is, of course, as many people know, driving climate change. And then, of course, we have to go to the store and buy the materials, buy the goods, and that is also using fossil fuels. And so what I wonder about is, what if we filled our emotional cup up? What if we were able to have that sense of belonging, that sense of trust, that sense of fulfillment in our emotional lives and in our erotic lives, because we lived with the very people that we loved, and that we had the connection with nature that we so crave, and that we have the connection with spirit that we crave, and we have the time to spend with ourselves, exploring our own creativity. And so if we are able to cultivate all of that erotic energy and move it through our communities, then there's a far less need to engage in the consumer economy that is really undermining this living earth. And so we reduce our environmental footprint. So I think that both ecology and sexuality are suffering from this disease of our time, and suffering from the sense of disconnection. So I live in an intentional community, and that lives on 130 acres of land, and we together steward this land. So we grow a lot of our own food, and we have a forest that we tend to, and from this forest we extract lumber that we use to build houses, and also materials that we use to convert into fuel. And we're also a polyamorous community, and so we are doing this all within the context of sharing both the partners, as well as sharing the earth as a partner. And we consider ourselves to be wedded to the land. And this is a really rich, fulfilling way to live, or at least certainly something that I found is to be a very rich and fulfilling way to live. And so when we're able to embrace the wild that is within us, the sexy part of us, the earthy part of us, the raw and the primal part of us, then I think we're also better able to accept and celebrate the wild that is around us, and not see the earth as an inert ball of resources, as so many people do, but to see the earth as an alive, erotic entity that is providing us with all of our needs. And so the good news is that healing our sexuality and embracing our bodies and it enables us to help embrace the earth once again. And through that, I think we'll be able to help mitigate many of the environmental challenges that we're experiencing today, and at the same time be able to lead much more erotically fulfilled lives.
That's certainly a very different way of living life. So perhaps for listeners out there who is trying to understand your community, could you tell us a little bit more about polyamory and how it works?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So polyamory is the concept of having multiple loves. So poly means multiple, and amory, amorous, meaning love. And so it's really the practice of sharing multiple partners, multiple intimate partners or sexual partners in a way that is open, that is transparent, loving, kind, and respectful. And so it enables us to come together and to embrace each other and to engage with each other, and in a way that allows us to create diversity in our lives and allows us to create fulfillment in our lives. So polyamory is really a practice of engaging with multiple intimate partners in an honest and open manner.
That's great. So how many people are, I'm curious because, this is really very new to me. How many people are there in your community? Did you guys just pack your bags and go into some desert? Yeah, we'll talk more about this after the break.
Yeah. Great.
The future of Internet radio is here. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into Om Times Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Imagine receiving healing, vibration-raising energy as you listen to the radio. Energy that flows effortlessly to you. Imagine exploring all things metaphysical, sharing in an ongoing adventure. Join me, Karen Smoot, along with my co-hosts Lisa Victorson and Wendy Weber for Immersion into Source every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Om Radio.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the Internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. Free your mind. Expand your soul. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. My name is Martha, and I am a sexologist. I have with me today Lindsay Hagamen, and she is talking about how nature can inspire the arts of love. And if you want to learn more about Lindsay, her work, and how to embrace Lover Earth, you can visit the website www.myloverearth.org. She has a new book coming out in June on Amazon, and you can look out for it. It's called Ecosexuality, When Nature Inspires the Arts of Love. And also the website of the book is ecosexbook.com. So welcome back, Lindsay.
Well, thank you.
Okay, good. So we were having some tech issues where Lindsay couldn't hear me, and so I was typing some of the questions to her, and that's why I was a little bit quiet today. And just before the break, I was asking Lindsay how her intentional community works, because they live together and they also live off the earth. So I was asking her just now whether they just decided to pack their bags and move into the desert.
That's not quite how it happened. The intentional community that I live in started back actually in the 70s, in the 1970s. And it grew out of the movement, really, the anti-war movement that many people were involved in here in the United States. And just wanting to create a different way of living and realizing that where the world was headed was not a place that they wanted to be a part of. And so there are many communities that arose in the 1970s, a lot out of the free love concept. And so the community that I live in, Windward, was one of them. And so actually has quite a long history and track record. And that I joined the community going on 7 years ago now. And so we're an intergenerational community in many ways because sustainability needs to be that. Sustainability is an intergenerational endeavor. And so we have the age ranges here are from early 20s to late 60s. And so it wasn't this spontaneous thought. But we do live off of the land, or as best as we can. And so we grow a lot of our own vegetables and fruits, and we raise animals, and we create and craft other materials that we need to live.
Yeah, I can see I can hear from the lusciousness of your voice how much you have this, appreciation, really, really deep appreciation of Earth, and how a lot of the things that you are talking about just now really is, I never even thought about the connection between Earth and with our spirituality and our sexuality. So I really appreciate being able to hear this depth coming from you, and that wouldn't have come from not really living off Earth in the way that you have. Yeah, and very much what I am speaking to is directly from my own experience, and how over the past 7 to 10 years that I've really merged my own ecological system, if you will, my own personal ecosystem with that of the land that I live with. And it's pretty remarkable the changes that it can occur. And it's both on a psychological level, but very much on a spiritual and erotic sexual level, that in many ways the lands here and feeling the land's energy has inspired me out of my shell. I used to be a fairly shy person and somebody that wasn't particularly comfortable talking about sexuality and things along those lines. And it's living here with the land and with the animals that this is a natural part of us. This is a part of life, and it's beautiful. Our sexuality is beautiful, and it was helpful for me to be able to see that in the world around me in order for me to be able to see that in myself. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So let's move to talk a little bit more about the eco-sex movement. So I've heard quite a bit about eco-sex. What does it really mean, and what is it really about?
Sure. Well, it does mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So I don't really want to give a definitive definition of it, but I can say that it's a movement. How I like to describe it is a movement of movements that integrates sex positivity and the values of sex positivity with environmentalism and the values that come along with environmentalism, and also integrates that with earth-based spirituality to create a holistic vision for social change, for how is it that we live with each other and live with this earth. And so in many ways, it's a movement to create a love-based, sustainable culture. So really, again, merging the environmental movement and the sex-positive movement. And the way that this shift is being encouraged is really by embracing what I like to call a new mythology, and the mythology of love Earth. And many thousand years ago, when the goddess cultures were really prevalent on the Earth, people celebrated and really revered Mother Earth or Mother Goddess. And then over the last couple thousand years, that's really transitioned to worshiping and revering a Father God. And I think that that's a significant piece of how the separation has come between earth and spirit, and the body and the spirit, and in many ways the shaming and the guilt that arises, that many people carry around sexuality. So what I think we need to really shift towards is thinking and embracing the earth as lover earth. And so that's what many people in this eco-sex movement are calling the clarion call of the eco-sex movement, to embrace the earth as a lover.
So for people who live in urban societies like myself, very much in the city, what can we do if we miss that connection with earth? And what could we do to be more part of this eco-sex movement? Yeah, so Lindsay can't hear me, so I'm typing that question to her.
What can we do to be more part of the eco-sex movement, particularly people that live in urban areas? Great question. Actually, a lot of the eco-sex movement is burgeoning in urban areas. Two of the primary movers and shakers and really inspirers of the eco-sex movement, Annie Sprinkle and Beth Stevens, who are based in California. They do a lot of performance art activism. So what they're doing is they're bringing their performance art into the streets and into the urban areas so that people can they're performing ecosexual weddings. So in that process, they're declaring their love for each other as two women, which of course is an edge for some people. But they're saying, we love each other and we love the moon, and they marry the moon. And so, and they recognize the moon as a partner, or the sun as a partner, or the soil as a partner. And so this kind of performance art activism is really a way to engage people in raising awareness around the global environmental challenges, and they're doing so in a really fun and sexy and seductive way. And so that's certainly a way that people can engage in the eco-sex movement, is by bringing this kind of art activism into the streets to raise awareness in a non-traditional way. It's a way of protesting what's happening, but not with the picket sign. It's saying, hey, come join us, come be part of this really fun movement where we can embrace each other and embrace the earth at the same time. It's about creating abundance as opposed to creating scarcity.
Yeah. Great. So for instance, for myself, every year now, for the last 3 years, I do run a little eco-sex campaign myself. My approach is a little bit different, but I talk a little bit more about sustainability of the environment, as well as the link with the kind of products that we are putting into our bodies and how we can make much more conscious decisions with what we buy.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think ecosexuality relates with other kinds of social change movements?
Sure. I lost you there, but I'm going to cut in and answer that question because I heard the first part of it. That ecosexuality really draws on a diversity of different social movements and weaves various aspects of social movements together into a cohesive whole. For example, ecosexuality draws on sacred sexuality, where sexuality is seen as a connection with the divine. And ecosexuality also draws on LGBTQ concerns and issues, where recognizing diversity of sexual expression and gender fluidity as valuable and important pieces of ourselves. And it draws on earth-based spiritualities, where there's an understanding that life and earth and body are all sacred. It also draws on the permaculture movement, which is a movement that uses ecology to inspire how we design our food production systems and things along those lines. And so how do we design our social systems, our relationships, our sexuality based off of natural principles as well. So these are all different social movements that ecosexuality is drawing upon and integrating into a cohesive whole. Because in many ways, again, we suffer from isolation. And so all of these social movements have important pieces to the puzzle, and sustainability and ecological living is really about the whole puzzle. And so we have to weave these together into a integrated whole. And I really do believe that ecosexuality is helping to do this.
Yeah, I also can see that there would be a lot of areas of contention where maybe one group is not happy with another group, raising awareness about certain topics. But I guess it's all part of the dialogue that has to go on.
We're definitely encouraging lots of dialogue.
So more after this break on ecosexuality.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know. I've tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. Today we're talking all about nature and our sexuality, as well as how it's linked to our spirituality. And we have Lindsay Hagamen, and she's been talking about exactly this topic. She's the president of Windward, an international community that she was just telling us about. And she's also the co-editor of upcoming collection book, which is Ecosexuality, When Nature Inspires the Arts of Love. She is the co-creator of the annual Eco-Sex Convergence. And you can find out more about her on these different websites. That's ecosexbook.com, and then that's mindloverearth.org, and then that's Windward, that's WINDWARD.org. And you can find out more about Lindsay definitely on her website as well. And she has a Facebook page called Lindsay.Hagamen, Hagamen. And she is beautiful and luscious, and you can hear this in her voice. So as for myself, you can subscribe to some of the things that I do and put out into the world. You can sign up for my Eco-Sex campaign, as well as now in the month of May, Masturbation Month campaign. And you can go to my website. That's www.eroscoaching.com /subscription-options with an S. So welcome back, Lindsay, to the show. So I was just saying before the break that ecosexuality is something that is very much what people are still coming to terms with. So can you tell us more about how ecosexuality can be relevant for people today?
Martha, I think I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
So the relevance of ecosexuality for people today. Sure. I think it's pretty apparent for anybody who is aware and awake in our life, in the world today, and reading newspapers and seeing what's happening in the news, that there's so many challenges that we face, and that from global conflict to local conflict, and from personal challenges such as eating disorders to a large-scale agricultural industry that is depleting the Earth's resources, and of course climate change, and then the isolation and depression and disconnection that many people feel in their personal lives. So it can be very overwhelming and very disempowering to think about all these challenges. And so I think that ecosexuality is offering a simple path that's attractive, that's upbeat, that's enlivening, to help people shift their lives towards greater abundance and really creating real security in our lives. And we do that by partnering with the earth, by considering the earth our partner, and also those who care for the earth our partner. And so that's really how I think that ecosexuality can offer to people today, is this metaphorical shift, this mythological shift of thinking about the earth as a partner. And on a practical level, one of the things that I certainly like to do and would recommend towards people that are listening is to find a place, whether it's in your backyard or maybe in a nearby park, and cultivate a relationship with that place. Spend time with it, visit it frequently, and engage with it in the ways that you can. Perhaps you have an opportunity to garden or to be part of a community, if there's such a thing in your neighborhood, and to observe this space change over time, and to see what's happening. And I think that is really a way that people can tap into some really deep and ancient wisdom, and then translate those practices into our personal lives, and into our erotic life.
That's fantastic. I love the tips that you're sharing, including joining like gardening community and really feeling earth on our hands. I think there's nothing that beats that. For me personally, what I do is I like to ground myself with nature, and I visualize myself every time I'm in contact with earth to just visualize roots going down from the bottom of my feet to connecting with Mother Earth, and that helps me. Deep breathing helps me to appreciate the air we breathe, and also looking up to the sky, admiring the moon and looking up at the sun. I think these are ways in which I try my little ways to connect with nature. Tell us a little bit more about your book and what people can look forward to reading about it.
Okay, I can talk a little bit about the book now. So we are putting out a collection called Ecosexuality, When Nature Inspires the Arts of Love, and co-edited by myself and Serena Anderlini D'Onofrio. And we have put together an incredible collection of over 30 contributions from leaders in the eco-sex movement. And each person really describes and brings to life their own aspect of ecosexuality. And so some people describe erotic relationships with plants. Some people talk about their intentional community, something that we've talked a little bit about today, and how living together with people on land or with land can really foster using sexuality and erotic energy as a renewable resource. Other people talk about orgasmic energy as life energy, and how orgasms and pleasure can really be a path towards peace, and the connection with the bonobos, who are one of our primate cousins, who really engage in sexuality in a very free and shameless way, and are also one of the most peaceful primates that we know of. So just all sorts of a diversity and versatility of approaches to how ecosexuality in its various forms can guide and help us create the lives that we want, both with each other and also with the planet. And it should be coming out in June.
And people can find out more about the book on ecosexbook.com. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about which I haven't asked or we haven't covered in today's show so far?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Anything else you like to talk about to listeners? Just anything else I haven't covered?
I can give one more tip, which is very similar to something that you were sharing earlier, Martha, which is really engaging your senses with nature, and that I think that this is one way to really begin to feel. So if people are listening and being like thinking about nature as erotic, and with a big question mark there. That one thing, again, in those places where sort of those special places that you can go to really immerse yourself in your senses, because our taste and touch and feel and smells and all sorts of aromas, it's really our connection to the world. It's also our connection in our sexual lives to our partners. So to really enhance our senses and to tap into our senses is something that can really enhance our erotic lives. So that's just one tip that I'd like to offer.
Yeah, I remember when I turned vegetarian 6-7 years ago. At first, everything that I was eating was really bland, and after about a few weeks, I started to feel more taste coming back into my taste buds, and this was when I started to begin to taste even the oil of the cooking, and the different kinds of oil when I go to, like, say, a vegetarian store versus, say, a Chinese store that has a lot like greasy food. And that's when the senses really started to return. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think for a lot of us, we are just so inundated with a lot of chemicals and a lot of spices, and sometimes we don't feel and sense anymore.
It's like we become a bit numb to it all.
So I think being able to detox and being able to live life simply actually will heighten our senses over time. Can you share with us a little bit about how you got into ecology as an interest? Because this is not something that most people go into.
I've always been a lover of life and the earth ever since I was a little kid. I loved playing outside, and I loved particularly being in water and swimming. And so when it came time for me to choose what kind of academic studies I wanted to pursue, ecology really seemed like a natural choice for me to be able to learn more about the things that I loved. And so I really just followed what I loved, and that was studying the earth. And obviously it's taken, my life has taken me away from the academic context and into a much more embodied way of interacting with the earth. But the whole time it's really been following my passion.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming onto this show today. And please check out her book, ecosexbook.com. Next week, we'll be having Amy Marsh, and she'll be talking about hypnosis and how hypnosis is related to our sexuality and, of course, our spirituality. So tune in to Eros Evolution next week.